Welcome back, lovelies. I hope you guys are having an amazing Monday. I'm on the road today, lots of appointments, so no live today. But as soon as I can get time, I will definitely let you guys know. Today's video brought to you by yours truly. A lot of people I've noticed are really sad because either A, they don't appreciate what they have, or they chose lust over love. Yes, and yes. They chose lust over love because they thought it was more exciting. They thought they were going to miss out on something. They thought, they were going to miss all these parties and they weren't going to be cool. A lot of people think that they're super strong-minded, but I've noticed that a lot of people are really, really weak-minded when it comes to peer pressure, when it comes to what their friends think. And you would think, hey, I'm at this age. I'm surely not a teenager. It wouldn't, affect me the same way. You would be surprised. And men or young males are also very prone along with women. Because they say, oh, women, they push relationships too late. And then when they look around, there's no one left. Boo, right? So what happens to the men? And a lot of the men who are like, yeah, I'm living my best life. I love it. Well, that works for some, right? But at the end of the day, they do still feel hollow. Like if they're using it as like a marketing gimmick, that could be one way of looking at it, right? But a lot of the times, the people that are selling you certain lifestyles, a lot of times behind the scenes, it's because they were hurt or they hurt someone else, right? They're not, as they say, relationship material. They allowed someone to hurt them, in which case now they don't trust anybody anymore, right? And the same can be for anyone, right? And that's almost like saying, when you do something like that, if you go to that extreme, that's literally saying they were the love of your life. Like they literally ruined you for everyone else. Like that's pretty wild when you think about that. Like they had that much of a hold on you, right? But just thinking about people's situations, like, the ones that I see, they have the most to say, we'll keep this neutral. You see a lot of guys kind of getting really stressed out and they hit their breaking point. And although a lot of people would love to say, just women are emotional, have you seen an emotional man? Have you seen how dangerous an emotional man can be? It can be pretty scary, okay? And they're liable to say anything, blame anything. They could have been a little ignorant with you. They could have tried to, play games, or you can tell that they've been around a lot of low-hanging fruit. And you're high-hanging fruit, you're high up there, right? Because of the value that you carry and the type of woman that you are. And you're like, oh, okay, you see all women as what? You know what I mean? Some type of target, or I don't know what you thought, right? So it makes people want to look at you that way, right? Because the energy will start to shift, right? Or they could, act like they're doing you a favor, or, some people are just raised really backwards that, women, we get accused of not being helpful to some people, right? Others know how to treat us. But you know what? If you're cognizant of knowing, like, hey, you know, what's out there, how people perceive women, right? You're always on edge for when they're going to say something fresh, right? And when you try to be nice, or kind, I like to say, right? Because there's a lot of women who are like, you better open the door for me at the car. Like, they won't even put their hands up. They'll, like, expect you to do whatever. And that's how you got to be most times, ladies. Especially if you're on a date. I can see if you're walking in public and somebody, you know, you're both going for the door, but you get to the door first, that you open the door for this person. Okay, fine. And then let them in. But, like, it's very strange when you're out and you're at dates and you try to be nice. Say you open the door for the person because you're caring, right? They might say something like, oh, you think you're a man. Well, if you have to say that, then do you think you're a woman? You know what I mean? Do you think you're a woman? And a lot of people, they don't know how to love, right? They expect all the love. You know, they expect, you know, to be treated a certain way because, hey, they worked hard at their job, or I made these accomplishments. So, you know, you should just, you know, spread them wide as soon as I walk in the door. Like, you did all that for you. So you did all that thinking you were going to get women easier. Then you did it for the wrong reasons, right? You must have did it for the wrong reasons, because then that takes the effect out of everything, right? So you only use women as a motivator to do anything. What about doing something because you want to do it, and then, you know, show that woman what you're made of, right? By having those skills or whatever. And also feeling like you're contributing to your life and that you have, you know, a good purpose and you're useful. Everyone wants to feel somewhat useful in their own life. Like, you want to feel like an active participant, do you not, right? And they call women NPCs, right? That's very NPC. Like, you would have only participated if it gave you instant access to all the women of the world. That's how it works for you. Like, how can someone even trust someone like that, right? It's so weird. You should want to treat the woman good because you like her. What happened to just liking people? You know what I mean? Not everyone has to like the same foods. Not everyone has to like the same clothes, right? Why can't we just like things because we like it? Not because somebody endorsed it, not because somebody else is doing it or likes it. That's so lame to me. You know what I mean? Do something because you like it. And damn what people will say. You know, oh, you know, you shouldn't slow down, you know, you should just follow your dreams. Oh, you don't got time for a girlfriend. Oh, you can find better out, like, and girls do it to each other too, probably, right? Girls, or this one is just too much work. They have too many boundaries and self-respect. You know, let me go to someone who'll make it easier. You know what I mean? That happens in a lot of situations. And then after all of that, they realized they were not happy with the choice that they made, because they realized anything worth getting takes work. And lust can come at a drop of a hat, right? I mean, it just depends what your libido is, right? Lust that's so fleeting, that's so hollow, that's, you know, that's, you know, it's more, I'd say commercial. I wouldn't say it's exclusive, right? But when you find love and you find attraction, love, a soul connection, you know, a good personality, just you know, a good everything where your hearts can lock in, not too much is going to turn you off about that person. Like, you can really go through some things with that person. And people don't get, people think, oh, variety is the spice of life. You know, variety. I think it's more intention. Appreciation is the spice of life, to be honest with you. Because everything can lose its shimmer after a while if you're not really taking the time to appreciate the blessings that you get. It could be with cars, it could be with clothes, it could be with anything, right? You know, you can just think, oh, but then you might find yourself going through some really, really tough times and having a hard time putting, finding clothes to put together, or that would be like the last thing on your list, you know what I mean? And all that superficial stuff. That would be like, you won't even care about that. I've seen people so heartbroken, so distraught, they wouldn't even want to change their clothes for days. Like, you literally have to, like, pick them up out of the bed. Like, they look like they just want to die. Have you seen somebody truly, truly heartbroken? You think they're worried about what their friends are saying? You think they're worried about going out partying? You think they're worried about, their fit? You know what I mean? It's like, what's the point if the person that you wanted is not there? Yeah, you may have a lot of stooges in their place, but it's not the same. It'll never be the same. You can get all the video vixens that you want. They're all going to fall short very sadly, right? Because they're a dime a dozen. And yeah, they'll do whatever, right? Because they're led by lust and they're led by greed, right? Birds of a feather, right? Or snakes of a scale, of the same scales, slither together. We can make that little nursery rhyme if we have to, right? And you think, oh, I have such an abundance. Oh, I'm really living on top. But meanwhile, the person that, you turned your back on or had no patience for, like, oh, you're not going to click your heels right now and then. Okay, I'm going to go off. Yeah. Call me when you're free. These are people who are so lazy. They want to be the princess. They want to be chased. They don't know anything about love. They don't know how to, engage. They're the NPCs, right? They want to have to put no effort, right? They just want, and they say the women don't want to put effort. Well, a lot of women also are seeing that sometimes they put in so much effort just to be left. You know what I mean? When the person sees the next shiny thing. Women shouldn't just do that for anyone just because it's a man. Just like you guys say, oh, I'm not doing it for all women. Yeah, no kidding, but you should be respectful to all women, just like I'm respectful to all men. Okay, I don't wait until I have a few series of bad situations or bad dates or whatever, and then all of a sudden I'm going to be shitty to all men, or I'm going to be too scared to relate to them. So you're just going to change teams all the way? That's a bit extreme. Something's got to give because you're running out of options out there. You know what I'm trying to say? You are. And sometimes it could be bad timing. This happens to a lot of people. They could meet each other and be at different, parts of their life and just not ready. But a lot of times people don't know how to take things slow and get to know the person over time. And then in time, you have built up enough in that emotional bank, you know what I mean? Just that, it takes you have to be personable. You have to have a certain rapport. That's the same with building a brand, building a business, building up friendships, okay? You don't just go up to the, is that how you keep your friends? If they don't want to do what you want to do right then and there, you're just going to forget you ever met them. You're just going to drop them. That makes no sense to me. So that's what's happening. A lot of guys, I'm sure some girls too, had their love. They've met someone at some point in their life, right? And sometimes, yeah, it could feel like it's really crazy timing or whatever. And, the best love stories, that's what's happened too. Two people that can meet and it could be just not the right timing. They could not be free, whatever, right? And then, a few years later, things can change, right? But if there wasn't any, like, rapport or, just letting it be known you're alive and that you still care, how's the person ever going to know that you even gave a shit and that you weren't just a tool bag from the beginning? How are they supposed to know? Meanwhile, you run around and you tell everyone, oh my gosh, I cared for this person so much. Oh my gosh. Really? But then why did you treat the person so shitty in reality? It's really easy to write a song, and play along. Oh, there's another song on the way, guys, right? But to actually hold on and to nurture real relationships and to actually see things through, even if life takes you in a different direction, if you have to travel, there's nothing wrong with, shooting someone an email. I hope you're doing good. I hate to see it end on that note. You're really special to me. I really think, you really made an impression in my life. I really care about you. Just little words like that will go so far. Guys think women just want to be called sexy and this all the time, right? And that's the whole wrong way of looking at it. They don't know how to treat women. Even in their videos, women have to almost like compromise themselves, right? Bring back some of the, some of the romance, but even some of the artists that did some of those romance songs, they were freaking shitheads to women in reality. They were literal shitheads. Like, the nicer you are to them, the more they would have took you for granted. Until they wait for you to turn it up and be like, okay, ice cold, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, I miss her and all this. But it takes all of that. Some guys, their wires got crossed a long time ago. And yeah, maybe some ladies too. Then when they get treated with a little level of respect, they don't know how to deal with it. Or, you could be at a point where, I tell you ladies too, if you go out with someone, really be careful, study their movements. If they're more worried about their hair than you are about yours, that's a huge red flag right there. Okay? If he is not worried about if you're thirsty, it could be like a really hot day, and he's so self-absorbed, right? He can't even be bothered to make sure you're comfortable, right, in the day, and just making sure, he's working on making you feel comfortable for the situation. So if he sees that you're busy, you have a lot going on, he's going to try to, make it happen where it's not going to be too much of an inconvenience, knowing that any quality woman and even quality man sometimes you can meet them and they could be, in a situation, they could be, sometimes already taken. Or, in a, maybe they're not happy. They were, finding the right opportunity to get out of the situation, but they're really enmeshed, that they can't, it would be bad for them if they were to do something like that, right? And it's not like, oh, a lot of people, no one's trying to save anybody, right? Okay, fine. So don't expect people, no matter how much you like them or you act like you like them, you can't expect them to undo their whole life on the drop of a hat when they just meet you. Like, you have to let things unfold. Are you even someone that would be loyal and stick around? Are you, is this all just an act? You know what I mean? You have to really appreciate other people's situation, right? And be like, you know what? yeah, this, what do I expect? If you met someone and they never had anything going on and they were completely like ready for whatever, then you'd be like, hey, don't they have a life and other things and that, and sometimes they can get the wrong idea and be like, listen, you may deal with someone that could be moving themselves. Like you may not, a lot of people are not telling each other the whole story when they meet. You could be in a town and you could be moving soon, but you're not telling the person the whole story, right? They could be, just moved back home from being gone, right? They could be starting a new job. They could be in between cars. They could be, people are at different spots, right? And sometimes they, some people could be like, listen, if I don't, see you now, I'm never going to see you, right? And you need to let that be known. And a lot of people, if that's the case, then, you need to express yourself, because if someone doesn't want to just be like, okay, if they knew the whole extent, if you were, not going to be around, if you were traveling, if you're just a tourist, let it be known, okay? A lot of people come into it with half stories, and then it gets like really, really confusing, right? And then some people, they'll try to manipulate the situation, and it just doesn't make sense. A lot of people are getting smart. A lot of women are protecting themselves. They don't know what they're walking into. You can meet someone that can act like a total gentleman. But we all know a lot of stories of women being assaulted or, kidnapped or whatever, started off with somebody acting like a gentleman. And then all of a sudden you don't see them again, Or if you don't want to give your whole name, your full name, you're playing games with nicknames. Now I'm going to think you're going to kidnap me, right? And that's what a lot of you ladies should think. Okay, this guy's probably either got a warrant or he's going to kidnap me. There is something going on. Why are you so scared to share your name? Who am I, right? What am I going to do to you, right? Are you scared you're going to do something bad to me, that I could make some calls and do something to you? Is that what you're worried about? What's going on? I'm not hiding behind my screen name every 5 minutes. I don't mind sharing my name, okay? Because I know who I am. I got to be me wherever I am, online or offline. A lot of people forget that their online persona is the same offline. They try to make it where it's two different characters, but yet people met them in real life and know who the hell they are, And a lot of times it's themselves, the people that do the most complaining or try to deflect on other people. Like, oh, I would have been, I was trying to be her Prince Charming, but she was trying to play me. She's so used to doing that. Like, who said? That's coming from your mind. And if that's the case, if that's what you thought, maybe that's what you like, right? Because it seems like you're so quick to follow those type of scenarios, right? And then when the girl tries to give you some respect, all of a sudden you turn it up. Or you're like, oh no, oh, this love stuff, it's too clingy. Oh my God, like they will call women who are serious, like clingy or too loving. Not that I'm like that, but anytime I showed any type of emotion or like not act like a robot, then it's like, oh, you're too emotional. This is too much. I can't do this. And then later on, years later, they're watching from afar like, damn, I really effed that up. Damn. And now the only way they can make themselves feel better is to tell everyone, she broke my heart. I was trying to do whatever. I wanted to be there. Yeah, no, they were probably not a gentleman when they did have a chance. Or they were really, really rude. Or they are trying to target women, especially some women from the opposite persuasion, opposite culture, I don't know. Whatever. And they thought, oh, this girl's going to put up with my shit more than the last girl. you're going to meet your match. And some of you guys already did. And you knew that you couldn't play your games with her. So you're like, let me go to those who want to do it. And I've had a lot of girls who are very competitive with me. Try to compete with me, right? That's why I don't like posting too many pictures of, my love interest, or if, I have a love interest, if I'm with my love interest. Because someone can be like, not even someone's type, and all of a sudden you are standing next to them. Now all of a sudden they want them now. It's because a lot of these girls are on the DL themselves. Like, they want to go and be with you, right? And being with your sloppy seconds is the next best thing. I don't go out of my way to try to date people that have dated someone I know. That's actually very taboo to some people. But some of you girls, you think, oh yeah, I'm this, I can be better. And then you get freaking played and laid in the shade. Okay? You get thrown all the shade, right? Because they're just using you as a proxy for me. That's the sad part a lot of you guys didn't get. Is because I couldn't be controlled in the situation. Or I wasn't going to play, that bullshit, right? That Ike and Tina Turner song. Or whatever the hell. And I was like, you know what? If you want to act bad, you can act bad all by yourself, okay? Because a real man's not going to show any type of aggression to the woman that he cares about. Okay, if you love the girl so much, right? Then you show her lovingly. You should be the one to make the grand gestures, not the women. Especially if you left it on a sour note. Making a freaking jingling little song isn't enough. Where was the phone calls? Try to apologize. Where was the long, beautiful letters? A girl really misses a nice long letter. Everyone is too lazy to even text. Or some of these boneheads, they ask a girl out. Oh, they don't want to text the girl during the week. Well, guess what? By the end of the week, you'll be forgotten. Oh, you don't want to waste your time doing the work, like you do with a job. You actually got to show up for 2 weeks before you even get paid. But you don't want to do the work. You just want to get paid. Is that it, right? But you don't want to you'll do more for a job than you would for a love interest or whatever else. All right, we're going to have to shift that back, and someone's going to have to make some sense of all that, right? If you want it, you got to give it too. If, you want to have that, once in a lifetime type of love story, then you got to embody that. And when you pretty much, shat all over it, when you had it, even a chance of it, even if it was not the right time for the person. Okay, right. So why don't you show that it wasn't a fly by night, that you weren't just trying to do it with any girl. Whereas, okay, I'm going to be steadfast and I'm going to, do this and that, and I'm going to come at her correct. And I'm going to come at her and be like, you know what, I had my fun or whatever, and that was no fun at all. A lot of people, you realize a lot of people just like the idea of having something until they get it. Then once they get it, they realize, you know what? I could have had all these choices, but this is the one that I want. Just like when you go out into a Kala, you got all these choices or all these foods, right? This is your favorite, this and that. These are your favorite shoes, or this is your favorite. Like, everyone has their favorite that it just works for them and they just love it. It doesn't matter if someone else likes it. If anything, sometimes it makes you happy when other people don't like it, right? Because that means they won't try to take it from you. But it's okay if other people like it, because if you treat it really well, it's going to be okay in your presence. A lot of people are very insecure on their abilities, so maybe they're only good to be a lustful tool. They don't know how to love. They don't know how to be kind, how to be long-suffering, not to be self-seeking. You know what I mean? Not keeping a list of wrongs, not being vindictive, learning to be loyal. They want loyalty, but they can't give the loyalty, right? They want you not to be out there, listening to your friends, but here they go listening to their friends. You know what I mean? It's like, listen, you got to live life for yourself. No one else is going to live this life for you. At the end of the day, are you going to do everything worrying about what everyone thinks every 2 seconds? And how are you a whole actualized person? How are you competent if you need advisors all day long? Okay? You got to be always in that crowd, right? That needs to be seen and heard by people who don't matter. But the people who do matter in your life, they're not looking your way, right? Because you made yourself so damn unrecognizable. You have pushed the people that cared about you the most and even took for granted, very rare opportunities because you thought it's always going to get better. Sometimes it doesn't always get better. There's people now figuring that out. You're going to go run through whatever, hey, you have your fun. I'm nobody's vixen. I am the main character. I am the princess that you should have been fighting for, right? That's how you got to tell these guys, right? You got to put yourself in that. You have to look at yourself that way. You have to embody that in yourself, okay? And then only then can you ask for it. And can you treat your partner as royal as you want to be treated, right? I think people can start there. And I think a lot of times people are the most miserable because they did trade in love for lust, thinking that quantity was better than quality. Then they get to the point that they end up with nothing. They wanted to hold out for these perfect situations, thinking that they could treat people however, that there'd be no consequences, that, you can have your cake and eat it too. No, not all the time. You got to pick this cake or you got to pick the pie. Okay. You can't have the cake and the pie and the pudding and the cupcakes. You just got to pick one. You just got to pick one. Okay. Because there's other people that are shopping too. Okay. The world is not just your candy store. That's what people don't understand. Okay. And if you saw something good, someone else would too. And maybe that moment was a moment that was significant because some people, hey, I've seen crazier things happen where people, they might be on a break and they're like, they might meet someone and they'll be like, oh my gosh, they were, I really liked them, but then they acted like crazy or whatever. And then what the hell? And then they just, you know what I mean? They're like, okay, enough of that break. That's not good. It's really ugly out here. You know what I mean? Abort mission kind of thing, right? People have to really look at their lives and say, hey, this is not a game. You can't always do a redo. All right, guys. I hope you guys learned something today. I hope you have a great day. I hope you guys like my new top. I'm going to get more of these. Doesn't it look like a heart? It literally looks like a heart. It's so cute. Well, make sure, guys, you take care of your heart in all the ways that it matters. And if you give somebody your heart, try to take care of theirs and, make sure you give it to someone that would treat it respectfully. But a lot of people, they get really gun shy because they step their toe out into the dating world and they're like, oh my gosh, these people are insane, right? And then it's the person that didn't do the right thing and wasn't being a gentleman. And then they'll just tell everybody, oh, she hated me. She just didn't like me. Why does it have to be like that? That is so immature. Maybe it was the way you treated the woman. Maybe that's what it was. Why does it have to be, oh, when she makes a couple of good points, now it's, no, she hates me. I did the right thing. She was playing games. And they say women are allergic to accountability. You guys need to take an allergy test for real. I had to reschedule mine because I was like triple booked today. But you guys need an allergy test. And I'm pretty sure accountability and some damn self-awareness, okay? I'm pretty sure those two will come up as being your allergies at this point. That's what I'm thinking. Guys, do not trade love for lust. I know they say, you know, hey, you only live once, this and that. But guys get soul ties too. A lot of times theirs are even worse. They may take it out on the next woman. The stuff that, you know what I mean? The anger that they have for the woman that got away. Oh, they're going to definitely project that on the next woman. I've seen that happen. I've seen a freaking a loser, grimy woman. Sorry, I need to get my sleep on today. You can tell. Yes, I can speak today. I'm so tired. I'm becoming autistic here. Just know that you are making the decision for yourself. Of course, I'm getting people pull up. Every time I'm trying to finish my video, this always happens. Every time I'm trying to close it up, I always get people pull up on the side of me. But guys, I'm going to cut this short. Just know that, you know what? Life is not going to happen over and over again, but some situations will happen. That way you can learn the lesson from it. And like I was saying before, I lose my point where I had someone who was like uber, single white female, obsessed with me. She thought dating my sloppy seconds was going to do something. And all she did was waste a lot of time. And she was used as a proxy for the abuse that my ex could no longer put onto me. And do you think that worked out too long? Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Because some people, they want love, but they don't know how to give love. You know, they want the things that they themselves cannot give to someone. And when you're working like that, of course your results are not going to add up. If you hang around clowns and you love on clowns, you too are going to become a clown. And with a bunch of sad clowns together, it's like, how happy can you be? It's like, yeah, you may get, you know, a couple of extra trinkets, but they're all knockoffs of what you really want. And that, you know, if you worked harder for it and you were a serious person, you could have maybe had a chance. But I think also a lot of people like the idea. They like the fantasy of you. You know what I mean? But then when it's time to actually climb that mountain, so to speak, they can't do it. I was thinking about that, climbing that big hill, that Weedamo hill. And every time I go up and I'm like, man, she's a tough lady because they named this steep ass hill after her. And I climb it in her honor. And I'm like, yeah, you know, a strong woman, you know, a woman that's a prize. Yeah, it's like a mountain. It's like a beautiful, majestic mountain. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of work to get up there. And it's going to take, you know, some participation and, you know, a little bit of sweat. But when you get up top, you're going to love the view. And it's going to be so spiritual and so amazing. I know that sounds uber sexual. Whatever, guys. Whatever. You know what I mean. Guys, have a great day. Do not trade love for lust. You will not be happy in the end. I promise you that. Have a good one, guys. Take care.